What's going on, guys? I am back, and the Rocket League Championship Series rules are out. We're going to go over them quickly. I'm not going to go over every single little thing in here, but we'll go over the changes in the rules from this season prior to last season. And, yeah, we're just going to go through it. Hopefully you don't hear that little buzzing behind me. My furnace is going crazy. But anyway, we're going to continue. I probably just pointed it out to you, and now you're definitely going to hear it. Anyway, so we're going to go down. We're going to scroll down here a bit. We got the schedule. Once again, we've seen this before. The big thing here is one extra week of league play and only 1 week for the playoffs. We'll get into that in a little bit. And then, of course, the World Championship, as always. Again, they don't say what Oceania scene is doing here, but they'll be doing something through a third party, they say. So, looks like not through like studio stuff or anything like that, to my knowledge. With open qualifier, it's the same exact system as last time. With open qualifiers, best of 3 for the first weekend, then it's best of 5s. And again, 8 teams move on. League play. The most important thing here is league play tiebreakers. It looks like they've got rid of the option of if 3 teams are tied, it goes back down to 2 teams are tied after a first tiebreak and all that confusion. They just have basically 3-way tie, and it goes down. It goes by game win percentage after head-to-head results if everyone tied. And if that's the case, there is some argument for game differential. So, because like the problem is if you play fewer games and say you finish 15-13, you have a better win percentage than, say, someone that finishes 16-14. So there is some blowback a little bit about like game differential. And honestly, it could go either way. Like, sure, whatever. Like game differential or game win percentage. I'm not like, I guess game differential will probably be a little bit fairer, but whatever. It's not the end of the world. We have game win percentage here. So that's what's going to be going down. That's going to be the main tiebreaker, just like last time, after they got it all sorted out between Flipside and Mocket. They do some examples here to show, and that's like, hey, Team A, they defeated both, so they get the spot, but Team C beat Team B, so Team C is going to move in front of Team B because they beat them in the head-to-head. So that's what will happen there. And they show some more tiebreakers. Examples. I'm glad they fleshed this out because it was very confusing the last time, and it was definitely a problem area that they had going into the playoffs last time. Which brings me to the playoffs, which I think is extremely exciting. I think Espion on Twitter wasn't too thrilled with. They're going to take top 6 teams. So, once again, the number 1 and number 2 seeds are going to get buys to the LAN, basically. Buys to the semifinals of the regional championships. And that includes a LAN spot because top 4 will make the LAN. But then 3 through 6, it's just going to be 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5, 1 best of 7. Whoever wins is in, whoever loses is out. I don't know how they do the bracket. I assume it's just going to be whoever wins between 3 and 6 plays 2, and whoever wins between 4 and 5 plays 1. You can also do lowest seed remain and plays 1, highest seed remain and plays 2, kind of like the NFL rules, but I don't think that's listed here at all. So I assume it's probably just a normal bracket because that's easier to show. But I really like this system. Instead of having the 2 weeks of playoffs that was really confusing, I understand that like it did solidify those teams, the 3 and 4 spots, because it was still lose 2 and go home. So they had like that one little loss buffer. But I kind of like this because now it's just going to be like, you better have a really good regular season to try and get one of those top 2 spots. Because once you're in the playoffs, you have 1 best of 7 to prove it. So that should be extremely exciting to watch. And that weekend's going to be extremely exciting because we'll get the LAN teams and then we'll get the champion as well in the same day. So that should be a lot of fun. The Oceania series. Again, it's by, I thought it said, yeah, third-party organizer from March 10th to May 5th, so look out for that if you're in that scene. They'll probably release some info about that soon. And then, of course, World Championships. They're doing 10 teams, double elimination bracket, but they did do a modification of the one that I had the other day, if you saw that video. The reason why I didn't like it, this one's a little bit better. I can't remember how to do this. There we go. All right, so this one's a little bit better. We have the 1 seed once again, plays the 8 or 9 seed. So that's going to be the number 4 Europe or number 4 North America seed playing one of these Oceanic teams, I assume. I don't think they've technically said where the Oceanic teams are seeded in this, but you would think that they're going to be seeded in this first round, this like play-in sort of round. I think the number 4 teams from both regions will be opposite sides of the bracket, and then you'll get the 2 Oceanic teams. I would say put the Europe as the better seed because, I mean, their region just won the last LAN. So you would probably see like Europe number 4 here at number 7 versus Oceanic number 2 at number 10. They would go on to play the North America 1 seed because, again, you would put the Europe as the overall 1 seed. You would have the North America seed here, and that'll keep it still a chance to be a different conference or different region games. Actually, it has to be different region games because Oceanic, if they win, it's still a different region anyway. So that whole first round will still be cross-region play, no matter what happens. Now, the one major change that my bracket showed that I didn't like was whoever lost this game would actually get dropped down into the 9th spots or like the 9th place game spots. And that's not the case in this bracket. It's actually going to be the 4 or 5 seed or the 3 and 6. So basically the 2 and 3 seeds from both regions are going to play a game. Whoever loses goes down into that first lower round. Whoever wins these games actually moves up to this round. It's not a perfect system, but I think it's actually closer to being fair than you might think. Because let's play it out here. Let's say the number 4 NA seed wins over the number 1 Oceanic team. So the Oceanic team moves down to number 8. The number 8 matchup right here. And then the loser of 4, so 3 or 6, say the 6, which if I'm doing my math right, would be the number 3 North America seed, would move down into here to face that Oceanic team. While the number 4 seed moves up, and then they can only finish as low as here. Now, the reason why it's not that bad is because no matter what, the 4 seed had to beat that team just earlier on to get that bye, I guess you would say, into this round, while the other team didn't have to play in that first round, but they still have to prove their worth and beat that team that lost in the first round. Overall, it's not perfect because it does kind of benefit the 4 seed, at least early on, but it's not the end of the world because they both have to beat the same type of teams or the same seeded-ish teams to make it into this round at least. And that's better than having the number 1 seeds have a disadvantage and being able to be dropped down into one of these spots. So it's not the end of the world, but that's the one major change, and that's not bad at all. That probably means it's going to be a 2-day event. I don't think they've said yet if it's a 2-day event or not, but that's probably what that means is they probably have it as a 2-day event. Because if it was a 3-day, I think they might have expanded out a little bit more. But so that's how that's going to run. Again, I don't think they say where the Oceanic seeds are, but you would assume... yeah, it doesn't say here. You would assume that the Oceanic teams would be in those bottom games. Just to see how they work out. Then we got MidSeason Mayhem. Still details coming for that. Who knows what that's going to be. I hope it's more Rumble. I honestly didn't care too much about the mutators as much. But it was fun having the fans vote. So, I could see it again. Let's keep going on. The one thing that people were pointing out, I guess it's worded in here a little bit weirdly. I'm not sure where it is actually in this document, is players will still get Guardians flown out to the LAN as long as you're under 18, but subs no longer will be flied out. So they used to fly out 1 sub from each team and put them up as well. And of course, that leads to, like, if someone gets sick or something and they don't have a sub, we'll see what happens there. So far, it's never happened, and I think Twitch is just banking on that won't happen. Because that's obviously a problem if that does occur, but I guess... that's one of those situations where, like, if it does occur, then at that point they'll probably have to reinstate subs. But I think they're waiting to see if that ever actually happens. Like, I can see why they don't want to fly subs out. One, they're bringing out 2 extra teams, and the cost for that are already going up. That they already send everyone out anyway. If these teams have orgs by that point, usually orgs send out players anyway to a lot of these tournaments, not invitationals, obviously, but maybe the orgs themselves will send out the player, or the players themselves that played, like if they really want their sub there, can fund him to come out. And we've seen a lot with the community, actually. They usually get players out there that they feel are worthy. So who knows? Maybe we'll see some Twitch donation stuff going on to try and get some of these subs out there. But like, I don't think it's the end of the world not having the subs out there. They've never been used. It's always been a little weird too, because like it could start turning into, oh, like we're just going to bring our friend on as a sub so he can come and get a trip to wherever like the next LAN is. So I can see why it's a little bit better. Like we might get more legit subs here or there, because now it doesn't matter. There's no trip involved. Plus, that also means that these players that were like, hey, maybe I can just get a free trip instead. Like, I'm a borderline top 8 team, like, worthy player. But if I join up with, say, like last season with, like, Flipside or something, I just get a free trip. So, like, why not just go with Flipside instead of trying to compete myself? Sure, like, they don't get to play or they don't get the money as well. And this isn't to say that's necessarily what Jazer did. Like Flipside was the first one to come into my mind as like a guaranteed lock to go to the LAN. But things like that, like being a sub for like Energy or something, it's like, yeah, we're probably locked to go, and I just get a free trip out of it instead of having to worry about playing and all that stuff. But now hopefully we see those players play instead. It's going to be harder for these teams to keep subs as well, because there is no benefit of going to the LAN. So maybe, maybe they'll start giving them some of that prize pool if they're available, like maybe a very small amount of the prize pool. We'll see how that goes. I'm still probably going to make money-like contracts out for players if they want to use it to like divvy up the prize pool, because in case of like subs coming in, or in case someone gets kicked off a team and all that stuff. So I'm probably going to make some of those before the start of the season, or probably right around the deadline time. So people, if they want to use it, then they can at least have like signatures on a piece of paper, which, it's still going to be hard to go through like the legal process of making that all work, but at least it's a step. We'll continue here, yada, 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 how to apply, player appearance, code of conduct. There's not too much more I think I wanted to catch up on. Oh, there is actually one thing here with arenas. So we know that Wasteland Night actually came out between seasons, and honestly, like, so it's a best of 5, and teams get to choose basically what maps they play. Like, if a team really wants to focus on, say, like, Wasteland, now they can just choose it for both their games. Like, one game is automatically DFH, so we'll always get that. Like, I'm still not a fan of how map picks are happening, because the way it works is first game is DFH, and then it goes, whoever lost the first match gets the second and fourth map, while the other team gets third and fifth. Like, I wish that was flipped, and we just knew, like, hey, blue side gets games 1 and 3, orange side gets games 2 and 4, and game 5 is DFH, because it's just confusing to know which team picked which, because you have to pay attention to the first game, and that's, like, one of those rules that I think is a little strange. But now teams, like, say they really like Wasteland, they can actually pick both versions of Wasteland and try and take some games that way. So, who knows? Maybe some of these teams will just be like, hey, well, let's practice Standard and let's practice a crap ton of Wasteland, and then maybe we can pull off those upsets, like, against those Flipside teams, and get those wins. So, we'll see how that goes. We got match procedures, yada, yada, yada. There's still always going to be weird stuff with, like, when the game bugs out, but we'll see what happens there. Trades. There's still trades. There was actually, I think, one trade made last season. I think it was, like, Mocket with someone to pick up a sub just in case. I think it was, like, Devo might not have been able to make it based on, like, visas. So there was actually one trade made. I can't remember the players involved, but it's possible to trade during the season. So we'll see how that goes, see if any big trades actually do happen. It's doubtful, but you never know. Player and team names, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, here's the, like, disconnections, a stoppage of play, restarts, all that stuff. So that's all in there, but of course, it's always tough to, like, figure out how to, like, restart a game or not. So we'll see how that goes. There's penalties. Player teams who break the rules in the document are subject to penalties, including match restart, loss of game, match forfeiture, temporary player bans, permanent player bans, and prize forfeiture. Last season, there was a couple of like instances where players would do like weird names, or I think it was usually weird names, or they actually used cars that they weren't supposed to use because when it was the new DLC cars coming out. And honestly, like, I would have, like, they gave them, I think, mostly warnings. Like, I would have just, like, docked a little bit of their prize, like $100 or something like that, just to, like, make sure they know. It's like, hey, make sure you don't do that. Because a lot of times they just get warnings, but hell, just take away $100 of their $500 from their league play, and then teams won't really want to try and mess with the rules at all. So we'll see how that goes. Got hotel accommodations as always, and then prizes. Okay, here's the prize situation. It's very similar to last season for the North America and Europe regions. I don't remember the exact breakdown, but I think the land money is a little bit different. The Oceania series is going to get 15 grand. So you would think probably 10 grand for first, 5 grand for second. I'm not sure if they're going to try and pay all their players. Like North America and Europe, if you make it to league play, then you get $3,500. Basically, you just have to show up for your matches, and you get $3,500. Oceania series doesn't look like it's going to be the same, but there is 15K in the line, so it's probably 10K and 5K for first and second. The regional championship prizes look very similar. 10K, then 6-5, 4-2, and 1-2-5. Very similar prizes amount. I think it might be exactly the same amount of money, but now fifth place is tied with 2 teams. And then the World Championship prize is a little bit different. One thing I like, the difference between 9th and 7th really isn't much. It's 5,000 per team or 6,000 per team. It's not a huge amount, and that comes into play with that weird bracket situation, and I think this kind of helps it too, because it's like, if you come in 9th or 7th, you're basically coming in the same spot, so it's not the end of the world. And then it starts ramping up from there with 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. I think there's a little bit more money going into this, but not a ton. It's 150 at the World Championships. I think it was right around there, and I think it might have been 125 last time. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but MidSeason Mayhem, once again, is the same amount. So, like a 10K again. So, really, like, you get a 15K off from the Oceania series for the extra 50K. And then at least 10K more from the Oceania series because they have to at least place somewhere on here. And then the prizes seem to climb up a little bit more than they did last time at the LAN. And that's really where the extra money is going, the extra 50K. But yeah, that's basically it for the entire thing. Like if you didn't see, also Psyonix announced $2.5 million going into Rocket League this year. I think they said $1 million going to prize pools. So that should be really fun. It might have been $1.5 million, I can't remember. But so they're doing a lot of cool stuff there. So look out for a lot of like a lot more tournaments basically that are funded by Psyonix. So that should be a good time. And yeah, that's basically the rules here. And yeah, not much else here. Now it's just all disputes and stuff and all that fun stuff. But for the most part, the sub getting travel out to the LAN has changed. Money is barely changed. The Oceania series is coming in 10-team double elimination tournament. And then what else was there? I think that's basically it. Oh, the championship for the regions is now just 1 week, which should be a lot of fun, I think, anyway. But yeah, so that'll do it, guys, for this video. I'll have the link to the rules in the description if you want to look at it. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time. Later.